In this lesson we'll create our ground. So let's go to a new scene. I'm just going to go to File, New, and then you just click here to say Reload Startup File. What Blender has got is a startup file with these objects in there, and you can change that if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Might as well just leave that the way it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to scale this cube and make it into our ground. So what we'll do is just first of all scale it. So if you select that object, if you click on it, use your left mouse button, and then we'll use the scale. So I'm going to press the scale here, and then if I scale it using the shift key, it's going to basically scale in only two axes and not the top axes. Okay, so I'm dragging up and down. If you hold down your shift key, and you can see you're basically scaling up. If I just undo that, Control Z is the shortcut. What I can do is actually turn on snapping and snap in increments. So if I turn on this little magnet here, which is for snapping, and the shortcut is Shift Tab for that, and basically you can have different types of snapping. So you can snap to volumes, faces, edges, vertices, and increments. So increments will basically snap in small units. Hold down Shift and use your left mouse button and drag this blue, and basically it's going to drag it, and it's going in 0.1 degree increments. So we can just come to the edge of the grid here. So if you scale it to the edge of the grid there, that will be fine. And if I just look at this here, you can see that it's scaled it to 8.1 there. It should actually be 8, but let's just put in 8 here. Okay. Otherwise it's going to be inside out, which is not what we want. So now what we can do is we can move it down, and because we're moving in increments, it's going to give us a nice easy way of bringing it down. So if we use move, we're just going to use the blue arrow again and just drag it down, and you can see it's snapping in 1 unit increments, and you can see that in the bottom corner, the bottom left corner, and it's going up and down in 1 unit. So if I bring it down, there we go, and we want to bring it down so we can see the grid there, and that means it's on the ground. This grid is basically the middle of the world, and the middle of that grid is basically the middle of the world. So we're just going to bring it up there, and what we'll do is we're going to edit the shape of this object. So we're going to actually edit the components of this object. So how do we do that? Well, basically we change the mode from object mode into edit mode. Okay, and the shortcut for that is Tab, and I recommend that you remember that one because it's nice and easy to remember and you use it all the time. So if I press Tab, you can see that I can come in there. So again, we're just going to press A to deselect everything so that we don't select anything there. And by default, you're selecting vertices. So you can see if I click on a vertex, I can select it, and it's kind of got a orange highlight where it's being affected. But what we want to do is select the faces. And if I just zoom in here, you can see this object is made up of these dots, which are called vertices, these edges, which are in between those vertices, and then the faces, which are all joined together to make a polygon. So you can click in the middle where you've got that dot to select the face. So what we're going to do is actually click on the bottom, and we'll just move that up a little bit so that it's not as thick. So I'll just move it so it's 1 unit thick there. Okay, that's just the style of it, so it's just similar. We'll leave it at that for now, and maybe we can adjust it later. But I just want you to remember this component mode, which is basically this button here, and you can click on object mode or edit mode. Okay, so you can press Tab to go in and out of that. So let's rename our object to ground. So we can do that in the outliner. If we just come over here, and you can see we've got our cube there. If we just double click on that where the name is, and we can call that ground, press enter. And just so you know, you can go into component mode here as well by clicking this little triangle. If you click on that, you're also in component mode, and if you click away, if you click on that again, you'll come out of component mode. So that's another way of doing that as well. So in this lesson, we created the ground for our room.